Welcome back to the channel. So, I thought this discussion would have died down. I thought that this particular discussion was just a one-off, but it seems to be here to stay, and it is being fueled by the recruiting efforts of Coach Cristobal and his staff, as I believe Coach Hayes said it was called, the Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6, right, of coaching, right? So, the discussion. We got too many South Florida players on the team, and the South Florida players are lazy, they don't want to work, they're soft, and they are the reason that the University of Miami has not been good. I don't even know where to begin. Right? So, I know where I'll start. I'll start with Randy Shannon for once, right? I've been starting with Al Golden. Let me start with Randy Shannon for once, right? So, I'm not from Miami. I'm not from South Florida. I have family that stay in South Florida. And all of the information that I have about South Florida football has come from respected posters on Inside the U, Miami Flow, Wholesome, and Canesville. So that's where all of my information about South Florida football has come from, right? So let's go back to Randy Shannon. Let's go on a little history lesson, right? I joined ITU 2012, right? Been on it since 2012, a decade. I'm an OG. But I joined in 2012, and when I first got there, obviously that was Al Golden's second year. So I'm fairly new to this because I'm sitting up here thinking like 10 years ago, I'm like, dang, man, so I don't even have to have like real friends to talk about Miami football. I can sit here and converse with complete strangers. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking Canes football. So anytime Randy Shannon was brought up, this was one of the biggest knocks on Randy Shannon. Listen, because who would have thought that from 2011 into 2022, this entire narrative would change? I didn't suspect it 10 years ago, but here we are. The knock on Randy Shannon was this. Randy Shannon burned bridges to South Florida schools. He only recruited certain South Florida schools and burned bridges and allowed for the SEC to infiltrate and take over. Randy Shannon. Hey, what did they say? Anybody watch Malcolm X? After Malcolm X was outside the police station and the guy said, man, no one man should have all that power. When Malcolm X hit this one, Denzel hit this one, told the fruits to go this way. Randy Shannon should not have that much power. That according to you all, Randy Shannon is the reason, or one of the biggest reasons, the SEC is what it is today. And the SEC got this man working in Florida State. Y'all could at least gave him a job at Georgia, Alabama, LSU or something. He got all that power. Right. So, but I want to play devil's advocate here for a second, right? Because what was Randy Shannon tasked with doing? Randy Shannon was tasked with cleaning up the program. So I'm just going to say this. I don't have any evidence to support this. If you do have some evidence to discount what I'm saying, please comment in the comment section. But who's to say that someone in administration told Randy Shannon, these are a list of certain schools that we do not want you to go to. These are a certain list of schools that we do not want kids to come from. Because from the information that, again, and Miami Flow too. If I didn't say Flow's name, Miami Flow too. Those are and Wholesome. Let me start over. Respected posters on Inside the U, Miami Flow, Wholesome, Canesville, right? That's where I got all my South Florida football information from, right? So I feel like I know as much as any outsider of the state should know about this, right? So, where was I at? Yeah. Reports are that the University of Miami is not doing enough in the community, there's a disconnect between the University of Miami and the schools, because the only times the schools really come around is when we're talking about, recruiting players and maybe a little community effort things. But again, that's a whole other different discussion, right? I'm just trying to paint a picture as to why maybe someone could have told Randy Shannon, don't go to these particular schools, right? So, could be absolutely wrong. Again, comment in the comment section, right? So, Randy Shannon gets fired. Al Golden comes in. Now, catch this. Catch this about Honest Al. On a much smaller level than what Coach Cristobal seems to be doing, Al Golden was going out of state looking for players. Now, again, I told you at the beginning of this video, the narratives changed in 10 years. The narratives changed. When Al Golden was going up to Pennsylvania, going to Ohio, going to all these different places to look at players, the board said, why are you leaving South Florida for skill position players? Why? Why are you leaving South Florida for that? A South Florida 3-star is as good as a 4 or 5-star in another state. That's what was said. Now, I didn't believe it because I'm from Mississippi and I feel like it's some dang good football in Mississippi. But again, that's another discussion for another time. I just want to stick to this. That's what y'all told Al Golden. And then it got to the point that South Florida coaches said that we don't really vibe with Al Golden. And what did y'all say? When it was time to dig in and get into Booker T. Washington, man, Ice Harris ain't gonna send no kids here, man. Ice tripping. Ice ain't sending no kids to Miami, man. Ice tripping. Hire Ice, we got 3 Booker T. Washington players. Man, American Heritage ain't sending no players here, man. American Heritage is too tied in with the University of Georgia. That still may be the case. I remember the whole Torrance Gibson situation. Ended up going to Ohio State. I remember that. Al Golden gets fired. Mark Richt comes in. Mark Richt is here. We can get back into American Heritage because they've been a feeder school for Georgia. Why? Because Randy Shannon opened the doors. Mark Richt gets fired. Well, Mark Richt walks away. So Manny Diaz comes in. We got to get some of these South Florida kids home. Some of the things that were said, man, we're letting too much South Florida talent leave the area. We need to get the boys home, man. Look at that secondary in Alabama. Everybody's starting from South Florida. Look at Georgia. You know, LSU stole Patrick Peterson from us. We gotta build the state of Miami back, baby. We gotta do this. Gotta get South Florida back. Obviously, Manny Diaz couldn't do it. And then Mario Cristobal comes in. And now this is when the narrative started to change. Now, South Florida players are the reason we're not good. Man, I'm glad Mario is taking a national approach to recruiting. We're not about to sit up here and be held hostage by South Florida coaches and players who don't understand anything. They just getting by on pure athleticism. That's a slap in the face to coaches who are being underpaid. Think about this. A guy making $3,000, he got to be a coach. He got to be a father. He got to be a big brother. He got to be a counselor. He got to be a bank. He got to be transportation. And then you telling me he needs to teach these players every single fundamental to go to the next level? And he got to do all that? Deion Sanders made that famous by saying that Florida may have the better athletes, but Texas kid comes in more prepared. Why do they come in more prepared, Prime? Oh, there's more resources over there. This coach is making 6 figures in high school. And Coach AJ down here at Central, I don't know if he's still at Central, but I'm just going by the interview I saw with him in Canesville. This man won multiple state championships. But you telling me that a coach from a whole nother state is better than him, and that he's not as good at his job as they are, for the simple fact that when some of these players make it to college, they're still raw. They don't know what adversity is. They don't know how to fight. Man, give me a break. But this is what's interesting also about Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal is the first coach out of 5 coaches. Follow me. Let's go back to Randy. When Randy was hired, what was said? It's not the players, it's the coaches. Randy got fired. What was said when Al Golden got hired? It's not the players, it's the coaches. Al Golden gets fired. Mark Richt gets hired. It's not the players, it's the coaches. Mark Richt gets fired. Manny Diaz gets fired. It's not the players, it's the coaches. Mario Cristobal gets hired. Midway through the first year, with the SEAL Team 6 of coaches, and the narrative changes from it's not the players, it's the coaches, to it's the players, not the coach. Most notably, it's the South Florida players and not the coaches. Now, I did some research because I feel like I need to give information, because I heard somebody say, man, we need to go and have a balance like the 01 team did. We were just pulling players from everywhere, wasn't just so South Florida based. Okay, well, here's the numbers. 2002 Miami Hurricane team had 44 players from South Florida out of 85. The 2022 team, which we currently have, 51, right? The 01 team, that's the one, that's they won, 35 players from South Florida. The 2000 team, 40 players from South Florida. So, oddly enough, based on what I see right here, we probably have about maybe 9, maybe 10 more South Florida players on the team than what we need when we talk about that run from 2000 to 2002. When, on average, I would say based on my math, I would think probably around 41, 42 players. So that's a sweet spot, right? All right? So roughly, that's 50% of the team South Florida. Roughly 50% South Florida players. So this is why it's so ignorant when I see somebody say we have the most South Florida players on our team. Our last dynastic run had more South. I ain't got to say the rest. I'm just going to give you the numbers one more time, just in case you didn't hear me. I'm going to go in order this time. 2,040 players from South Florida. 2001, 35. 2002, 44 players from South Florida. I didn't even bother calculating all the players just from Florida, because we would have been in the 50s. So we would have been 60% of the roster. So I'm just gonna go with South Florida. But again, because you can't put these people in a corner, because what's the rebuttal? Oh well, man, them South Florida players, they different than the ones now. I would think that players in all places are different in 2002 than they were in the early 2000s. I mean, I have a little cousin. He's 17. He's different than me. And we went to the same school. So, I don't know, man. As always, man, like, share, subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think we have too many South Florida players on the team, man? Do you think that we should not have the most South Florida players, even though never mind, y'all know where the school at. Man, it's all about the youth, man.